Hello, one and all, and welcome to Creative Spark, my YouTube show where I talk to cool people about the cool things that they are doing. With me today is a master actual play performer and fellow YouTube interviewer, Valiant Dorian. Hello!
Hi, that's so sweet. I'm happy to be here.
You're literally award winning. I think it's apt, to be fair.
I know, but that's still very kind. Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm very, very well. Thank you. How are you? Thank you for
I'm
having
good.
me on.
Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you're incredibly busy. It must be hard to find time to do anything. So
It's just time zones. Time zones are really my enemy,
times are
if we're
truly
being
awesome.
honest. If I'm closer to the time zones everyone else is in, that would be great. Which is why I would love to have teleportation as a power.
Just
Or
just for
the
time
ability
zones.
to pause time so that I
Yes,
can get more hours in a day.
that would also be
Then
nice.
that would be really nice. The things I could get done.
But that's not actually what would happen, is it? Because, like, if I had the ability to pause time, what I would end up doing is working even more, and I already work too much, or sitting there and
Yeah.
lamenting my inability to relax.
Yeah, no, that would be exactly what I do. I'd take a nap and then feel bad that I'm taking a nap and then feel like I need to like min-max the amount of hours that I work, which I already do with the
Yeah,
24 hours I have in a day. I just I'd like to think that if I could get like a couple more hours in a day, I would
maybe.
use it for good, you
Maybe.
know?
Yeah. I'd love to think maybe I could use those 2 hours worrying about what it is I'm going to do to relax instead of not relaxing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You get me. You understand. You understand the plight
The
of
constant,
creators such as ourselves.
the lamentations of trying to chill out for 5 seconds. Yeah.
I know. It,
Yeah.
it's also the ADHD thing. So,
It's so much,
yeah, that
so much neurodivergency. Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. This is not what the interview's about. This is just
we're just lamenting
it's
about
fine.
this.
It's fine. Anyway, let's let's go back. So your creative journey is an interesting one because you do a lot of stuff, much like Connie Chan, actually, obviously.
Yeah,
You do game design, you do actual play performance, you do YouTube interviews as well.
I do YouTube interviews. I variety stream. I write sometimes. I do. It's funny that you call out that with a similarity with Connie because I do truly think everyone on Transplanar, especially everyone on the Chaos Protocol,
Yeah,
wears a lot of hats because even Kai is the same way, and he has the additional hat of being a costume historian and doing costuming on a daily basis and
it's awesome.
consulting regarding costuming, which is really really
It's
cool.
super cool.
But it also means that we're like doing 6 7 things like in our in our daily lives. But yes, I do have a very very odd creative journey and a range of things that I'm doing at any given time.
Which of those came first?
Oh, that's a good question. I think technically the streaming came first, the kind of like content creation element. I've
Mhm.
always sort of I liked streaming. I think it was a fantastic medium. It was something that I was very, very into, especially consuming a lot of Let's Plays growing
Mhm.
up of folks playing games online. So it started with that, and then I kind of like learned how to stream. I had an okay like I would have like a handful of viewers between the years of like 2015 till 2020, and then the pandemic happened, and from there I was recruited by my friend for his very very international home game of D&D, where we played in a homebrew setting where we all played furries essentially.
Right.
He was just like he was like, I know you're looking for a job right now, but I don't think anyone anywhere is hiring because the world is shut down. You might as well join me on my weekly D&D game. What else you gonna do with your time? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then that's what really began the sort of like my own transition towards TTRPGs and actual play. And once I joined the actual play space in what was it, summer 2021
Mhm.
is when I joined the actual play space because of Utopia was a fantastic Discord community with lots of folks of color and opening up opportunities through charity streams and such. And then through like building community with them and appearing regularly in actual plays, there was a senior member of the Utopia community, Candy. Folks, we might know her as Candy Jean, one of the writers for the Confluence RPG that released, what was it, like last year? We had the Kickstarter,
Mhm.
and she on a Discord call one day just looked at me and said, "Hey Val, why don't you game design?" Me, who has never game designed in my life and has no idea what that looks like, and I'm just like, Candy, I don't know who you think you're talking to. I don't game design. She's like, I don't know. I think you should think about it. I don't know what it was that she saw in me at that time that made her say that.
Mm.
But now I'm like, what, like a handful of games in, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I am a game designer now. And she was right the whole time.
To be called out by
Yeah.
someone, why don't you do this? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then it end up being true.
No, because just at that point, game design to me was, especially because I was like relatively new in I had been like what, like 6 months, 7 months in to the TTRPG actual play space.
Mhm.
So any opinions that I had of what a good TTRPG is or what makes something fun was, in my opinion, at the time, very, very uninformed.
Mm.
I also was like, if you ask me to do math for like for a fun like hobby, I would cry. I'm like, math and I are not best friends. So, and to me at the time, game design was like, oh, I have to do math because there's dice,
Mm.
right? And I, not to say I don't do math in my game design, I do begrudgingly have to do math in my game design, but I do severely limit it though. And a lot of my game design is by vibes. I do a thing and I go, does this feel right? Feels about right. Then I play test it and people tell me if it feels right or not. And then we go from there.
Mathematically, who knows?
I'm in the school of vibes in the game design community, I think.
The School of Vibes is an incredible place to be. I think I'm also in the School of Vibes, but I also am a qualified accountant among all the other weird stuff that
Oh,
I've
you do
done.
math all day, every day.
I'm my group's calculator in like when we're playing, to the point where they'll
Thank
roll
you.
and I'll add their modifiers for them and give them the answer when they're rolling.
You do us all a great service. Thank you. I mean, it's the reason why I liked like tools like D&D Beyond or like Roll20, because they do the math for me and I don't have to think about it. Watch me play in person and watch, like, you get to see the little blue loading screen in my head as I have to calculate everything and have physical tools in front of me to do that.
Val has crashed and you're just there like,
It's happened so many times in in-person games, especially when I'm in conventions and
yeah.
I'm running my own, not even someone else's game, my own game that I wrote and designed. And I'm like, wait, hold on. You rolled a what again? Yeah, no, that about is correct, I guess. And I have to take like 30 seconds. I'm like, oh wait, no, that's correct. Okay, yeah, you hit. Great job. Let's go.
Incredible. So, at what point in the how did you end up on Transplanar RPG? Because I feel like that's your biggest thing.
It is my biggest thing. TransplanarRPG is the like longest running project I've been associated with, and is like, we're all really, really good friends, and is a huge passion project. I got called in to Transplanar while I was one of the cast members for the first like longer term AP I was in, which
Mhm.
is the Soul's Confidant on Friends Who Roll Dice. And C was a fellow cast member on that show with me. And C at one, I remember this distinctly because I was living in the UK at the time. I was
Right.
doing my bar course, and I was on the bus. I was on the bus to Islington, and I get a text from C. Thomas, who messages me, and it's just like, "Hey, by the way, floating this over to you. We would love for you to play an NPC
Mm.
that, like, a long-term NPC that has been in the game beforehand, named Fosca, who has been played by Connie before. But you would come in as like a full cast member for Arc 6 to Arc 8. We want to give you all the freedom, and it was a lot of kind of like reassurances of, yes, like, we would love for you to like to make any changes,
Mhm.
like build her to a character that you would want to play for Arc 6 to Arc 8. And I remember receiving that text, closing my phone, looking out into Islington, and go, "Did I just read that right? I think I just did." And then I read it again, and that was the kind of like beginning. And the way that I was brought on was I initially played in the one shot called, what was it, A Song of Snow, which was meant to be a sort of like Voska origin story,
Mhm.
where it was a testing ground to see how I fit within the story and how I fit with Voska, as well as how I played within the sort of like transplanar style. Because transplanar is, I would consider, a very high drama, like
Mm.
heavy role play, big into like character driven moments,
Yeah.
actual play channel. And this was sort of like a testing ground to see if I fit that mold as well. And A Song of Snow went very, very well. We had lots of fun. I fell in love with Voska immediately. She's on my desk. Here's her Hero Forge mini that I keep with me at all times. And the rest is history. I played Voska from Arc 6 to Arc 8 for the Second Stranger, the first main campaign. And then for the second main campaign, the Chaos Protocol, which is still ongoing,
Mhm.
I was also like contacted by Connie and by C to play because my role with Voska was from Arc 6 to Arc
Mm.
8, and it was a shorter run compared to a lot of my cast members, and they wanted to offer me the opportunity to play a character longer term.
Mm.
And that was where Sayer was born. And we've talked about this so many times on the channel about how much pre-production work went into the Chaos Protocol. And now I'm there, and it's chaos every single week, and I love it to death.
And you've also collectively won a handful of awards in the last year or so, right?
Whew, and it's all thanks to the hard work of Connie and C. Like, I cannot stress to everyone. Like, I can imagine from the outside looking in, it's sort of like, oh, like, wow, like Transplaner does a lot of stuff, and last year was kind of like a huge test. A lot of our wins, especially winning the Audio Fiction World Cup, felt
Mhm.
like a huge testament to the work that we do and the quality of the work that we do. But I have to kind of like also say that a ton of work went
Mm.
into the into not only the awards circuit but also in everything we do on Chaos. And like our success at the awards is honestly because Connie and C burnt the midnight oil constantly in, like, I mean, hours and hours of footage, editing it down for consideration. The amount of work that they do for prep every week for our sessions. We have weekly dramaturgy sessions with C. Thomas, who's our tech producer as well
Mhm.
as our dramaturg. And it truly is kind of like the confluence of everyone's hard work. And I was so proud of how well we did last year in the award circuit, because I think the Chaos Protocol is a really, really good
Mm.
show, and we are exploring very, very difficult themes such as grief, dark fantasy, queerness in the and revolution.
Mm.
And these are like really, really big themes to tackle in an actual play, and we have a particular method. And so it was nice. It was a sort of like validation
Mm.
to the good work that I know that we do week in and week out.
Yeah, and well deserved, because I think I think it's the actual the actual play space. There we go. Is heavily dominated, obviously, by cliche RPG players who notably look a lot like me. Uh, and I think Transplayer, one of the cool things about it is initially it's like it's a cast that stands out as being diverse
Mhm.
and unique, and that's
Yeah.
impressive, but that's far from the most interesting thing about the show, which I think
Mhm.
is something that's easy to miss if you're new to the actual, like, watching actual plays, is that
For sure.
it's the effort and the stories that
Mhm.
that go in and then come out of Transplanted that really makes it special.
No, absolutely. And it's why, we when we describe Transplaner, we start off with like we are a fully trans POC led TTRPG actual play show. And then we lead into the core of us, which is we are anti-colonial, anti-orientalist in our storytelling, and we empower storytelling featuring queerness, like wrath, hope, and the power of love, right? And we talk about all of those different themes, and yeah, it's like Connie and C are incredible visionaries, and it shows in their body of work. It showed in The Second Stranger with the entire cast, and it shows with our cast on the Chaos Protocol,
Hmm.
and it shows again with like even God Killer,
Yeah.
like both God Killers, right? We have the first one, which the name is escaping me at the moment, and Last Hope. Both were incredible productions, and were the stories are distinctive and I think unique within the TTRPG like actual play ecosystem in terms of the
Yeah.
media that is being put out there, which is very very nice. So whenever folks tell us that they enjoy our stories and enjoy our work, it's wonderful, and it feels incredibly validating to put this work out there and put work and stories out there that represent us and represent who we truly are. Especially in the Chaos Protocol,
Mm.
like the number of times we've drawn on like specific cultural backdrops and cultural like storytelling techniques or
Hmm.
tropes in order to fuel the storytelling of our characters, or our characters engaging within the world or the setting that our characters are thrust into, because it is a multiverse hopping
Yes.
campaign. We do that like I think multiple times an arc, and it's I rarely see that in the actual play space, and it's something that we're very very proud of to be able to showcase that culture. I mean, I rarely get the opportunity to show off that South Indian Tamil like like heritage that I have.
Mm.
But I can do that week in and week out on Transplanar.
It's good. It's important, and it's awesome that you're all getting the awards and like recognition that is well
Yeah,
deserved. So yeah, congrats to you
thank
all.
you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Um,
We were losing our minds when we we were all sitting in a Discord call. We were like, what? Couldn't sleep. I think on the night of the audio fiction World Cup when the announcements were going on. I was like, I need to know what happened, so I will not
I can
sleep.
imagine,
Yeah.
especially because you're in different time zones as well, right? So there must have
Oh
been.
yeah, because I believe like we were waiting for it. It was like coming on the afternoon as well. I think for the US.
Mhm.
So I was there like up at 1 a.m. being like, "Do we have any updates yet? I cannot sleep."
Do you feel as though the awards have redefined the path forwards for the cast and for the show?
um, Not necessarily, and I think like Transplanar, we literally just put out a statement about like the awards, and while we are like extremely proud of the work that we've done and extremely like grateful, humbled and honored by the accolades that the Chaos Protocol has won, we're also aware of kind of like um the gaps within the awards system itself, which
Hmm.
includes sort of like the idea of the popular vote, like biases, etc. And while being sort of like aware of all of that, we are like we just put out a statement with regards to the like crit awards that uh, we are focusing on uplifting other folks within the actual play space.
Hmm.
We are making a position that Transplanar as a channel will not be seeking crit awards. We'll be supporting like any individual awards, and we'll also be like supporting channels and projects that we think are doing incredible work and
Mm.
deserve that recognition. So I don't think like we're not as a channel. We are not. Like chasing after like more accolades or more like awards. So I don't think the awards have like defined our path forward in that sense, but I think they have defined our path forward in the sense of like we have received exceptional recognition, and we recognize that, and we want to pay that forward,
Hmm.
and two, continue what we're doing, continuing our like passion of creating good stories, stories that resonate within the heart of our audiences and within our own hearts, and making beautiful and tragic and broken and wonderful art for everyone. And I think that's at the end of the day, within all of our hearts, the main guiding north star for us all.
Very cool. Let's switch gears and move away from your actual play
Oh, all right.
and move to your YouTube stuff,
Oh, yes.
which is Otter Spirit Bear, which there'll be links for
Yeah.
as much of this as I can remember to put links for in the description. Um, what made you want to like start your own YouTube channel then? Because obviously you're talking about streaming, so what led to that?
It was linked to the streaming. I think when I had a couple of YouTube channels that weren't successful, or the sort of like trajectory had changed as I was working on it halfway. I had a really when I was in when I was in school, like towards the end of my high school, I tried to start a YouTube channel for like like game theorizing for specifically the Persona series,
Right.
as well as as well as like let's play content. That didn't live for very long. Um, it was also the fact that I was young and didn't really understand what I needed to do with
Mm,
with like YouTube and how that all functions as a science, really. Um, and then I attempted again when what year was this? This was when I was in college to do like trans content. Like there was
mhm,
a lot of folks at the time that were putting out their own experiences about being trans and such. And I was like, oh, I would like to bring my own perspective, especially since a lot of the perspective that folks were receiving online were from a lot of white trans masks,
mm,
and I wanted to bring a different perspective. That also didn't necessarily continue. My passion for that sort of content dwindled
mm.
as time went on. And then when I did TTRPGs, I was like, okay, I will only do a YouTube channel when I know specifically exactly what I'm trying to do with
Mm.
it. And I always wanted to produce my own like APs in the future. That's something that I always wanted to do. I've always wanted to produce my own types of show that
Mm.
are beyond the scope of APs, like the Secrets of the Actuality that will be coming out soon. Um, and then I was like, but that's not enough. That's not enough until I have something more concrete.
Yeah.
And then I decided to do the like designer spotlight series where I wanted to interview folks. And that was kind of my little testing proving ground, was designer spotlight,
Mm.
because I wanted to it felt like to me that game designers don't get to like talk about their projects
Yeah.
very very much, and especially by an interviewer who understands what's going on in their games, that actually goes through the work to do deep dives on their
Yeah.
work, on the thing that they do. Especially for indie designers, usually it's
Yeah.
the larger designs that get interviewed by like Polygon and larger publications. So I wanted to give something smaller that could affirm them. And with folks receiving designer spotlight, so I made my YouTube channel for that. That was going to be connected to my Twitch platform. But once that was being received very very positively, that was when I decided, huh, it seems like people like this, and it seems like maybe I have a knack for interviewing.
Mm.
Maybe this has legs. Maybe I can do something with that. And that is where Dicey Banter was born. And because from the idea of, I spoke to game designers, but what if I spoke to everyone in the TTRPG space? I'm talking composers, producers, sensitivity consultants, like
Yeah.
lots of folks in the space that don't necessarily get to talk about their work there, and like where their work is shrouded in mystery,
Yeah.
and everyone's just like, I know what a producer is, no idea what kind of work goes into it or what they do. Same thing with like consultants, like
Yeah.
sensitivity consultants, like, oh, know that they're important and people should have them in their projects. No clue what they do. No idea what their day to day looks like.
Mm.
And that was how Dicey Banner was born. And that Dicey Banner and a lot of my like Twitch content has now become and bloomed into like the Also Spirit channel. And at some point, that might be rebranded and renamed to Spirit RPG, which will be the productions of where I produce more content, like future actual plays and Secrets of the Actuality.
Very, very cool. You've talked about wanting to do actual plays on your channel.
Mhm.
What does the process of planning that look like versus being a performer in one?
So much. I mean, there is, not to say that there isn't like work associated with being a performer. There is quite a bit of like work I do as a performer. Not just on the performance itself, but also within like character building, working with castmates, working with your producers and such. With planning an actual play, especially from a producer capacity, and now that I've been working on the Secrets of the Actuality, it's a whole different like skill set. It's about organization, lots of admin. It's about kind of like honing in on the kind of content or the kind of story that you're trying to create, and being able to bring all the pieces together in order to produce it. And it is, in my opinion, significantly harder than production. What I mean is performing, just because there's so many moving
Yeah.
parts between time zones and scheduling. I mean, think about scheduling your weekly D&D game, times that by 50, and that's how difficult it is to schedule people for like 3 hour like sessions per
Yeah.
week, and not even just the 3 hour sessions per week, but also the background work, right? So with Secrets of the Actuality, it is meant to be a theory crafting, lore diving show that I'll be producing later this year. And there's a lot of behind the scenes work that we have to do that include reading a ton of the lore and talking about all of that
Mm.
lore in preparation to talk more about the lore on screen, and also doing discussions to theory craft. And then there's the marketing element of who's making the graphics. Hey, we might need a logo. Finding the best and optimal times
Mm.
to showcase your work. I mean, I'm privileged and lucky to be one of the recipients of the Cypher grant from Monty Cook Games for Secrets of the Actuality, which means that this show has a home, and that is the
Yeah.
Monty Cook's Moonbeam channel. But if you were like wanting to look for a different channel to host the game that's not your own, therein lies yet another task that you have to do.
Yeah.
And that's not even touching the big elephant in the room when it comes to productions and actual play, paying people
Yeah.
and finding the funds to pay them. Um, as far as I know, a lot of the experiences in AP spaces, unless you are a production that's actively receiving funds from your audience or from sponsorships, is we're all sending each other the same $20. It feels like. Um, and it's because of the generous support from Monty Cook that I'm able
Mm.
to pay my cast and pay my artists and pay the folks to like consult and guests and things like that on my show. But that's also another huge element, is paying folks fairly,
Mm.
ensuring, if you are doing an actual play, ensuring safety, ensuring dramaturgy, and the support that folks would need to carry a production from start to finish. So that there is a lot of planning that goes into that, and that's not even touching sort of like finding your identity as a actual play channel, which I think is important
Yeah.
if folks are looking to do that, is to like find your thing that you are trying to tap into in terms of like actual. And even if it's not actual play, if you're producing like TTRPG content in general, or the kind of shows that you want to
Mm.
put out into the world, like having the thing that is essentially what you're trying to achieve, whether that is I'm making a horror actual RPG, actual plays, or I am a review channel that's main to be like a neutral, objective sort of like critique
Mm.
of actual play or of games, etc.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that. To answer your question in a long-winded way, very very different, and there's a ton more steps that need to be done.
Do you prefer it, or do you prefer being a performer?
I think I like them both in different ways, and I mean that generally, genuinely, and not trying to just sit on the fence. Um, because for performing for me is in my bones.
Mm.
I've been a like performer all of my life. I've worked in I'm a theater kid, right? I When I was, God, how old was I? 9 years old. I wrote a play for my church nativity play that featured time traveling. They put it on. I don't know why the church let me put that on. Put that on
That's
everybody
wild.
else. It's wild. I like thought about this this past Christmas. I was like, "Hey, family, do you remember when I wrote that play?" And they're like, "Yeah, you sure did. It sure had time travel, and it sure had like modern music in it, but." everyone seemed to have fun. And I was a theater kid growing up. I did a lot of plays in school and such, and so performance is in my blood, really. And actual play is that perfect confluence of like play, which I've always enjoyed all my life, and gaming, which I've always enjoyed in my life, and being able to be a performer. So like you can rip performing in an actual play out of my cold dead hands, essentially. um, but like what I've noticed, especially on like I've produced a couple of shows, mostly in a charity stream context or a one-off sort of context, like in the Whole New World. But with especially with the Secrets of the Actuality and a lot of the work that I'm now doing, now that I have a more seasoned, I think, mind for it,
Yeah.
um, I am enjoying the sort of like administrative, the sort of like preparatory work that goes into the production. There's a certain satisfaction of being there at the like very inception of an
Yeah.
idea, like pulling all the pieces that you need for it and carrying it into fruition. It's exhausting work for sure, but it is there is a very very different kind of like satisfaction and fulfillment that I'm receiving from that, that I don't necessarily get just from performing. And it's also the bit of what is that axiom? Like make the things you want to see,
Yeah.
and like with Secrets of the Actuality, I've always believed that the TTRPG space could have shows that are more than just reviews and more than just actual play.
Yeah.
I think there's so much space to have different types of shows in the TTRPG context, and this is my attempt to show the potential that we can do with the different types of shows, especially in the lore diving theory crafting department, because let's face it, we're all nerds, and we will take any opportunity to co-nerd out with people.
Yep.
So why not make that space for folks to like nerd out and to get really specific, go actually I know that this is in this book, and being able to partake in that together. So yeah,
Very,
so
very cool.
genuinely, I enjoy both for very very different reasons, and
Perfect.
at different seasons. Now I've found the balance, as all things should be,
Yeah.
where I'm performing a certain amount and I'm also producing a certain amount, and this is the perfect balance. And if anything additional comes in, it will disrupt the balance completely.
And I will
So yeah,
cry.
I will.
Do you get much chance to play outside of all of this?
Not really. Honestly, not really. It's one of my goals at the start of this year. I think I spoke about it in a thread at the start of the year of 2024, while being a very very big year for me. I worked myself to the ground in 2024. I hardly said no to things. I did as much as I could, and I barely had time to, like, any time I got to play in person was usually for playtesting or for charity or like helping a friend out with like playtesting. I rarely got to play for fun. And this year was my year of going, I'm going to force myself to play more games in person and play more games for fun. And it, while the answer is still like I don't get to play a ton, it is a significant improvement from last year.
Yeah.
I've played a couple of games at our local friendly gaming store. I've been joining more workshops of folks with some of the games that they're like exhibiting, and trying out new games that local designers are making. And I'm also now in a weekly home game of God Killer that
Oh,
is
cool.
like low prep. It's with me and one of my good friends, Keith, and it's every Friday evenings where we're both just. It's so reinvigorating, and I do recommend anyone who's in the space who is a creative, schedule that home game. It you think it will heal you, it will actually heal you. I can confirm, because being able to have like, I don't have the notebook on me, but it is yay
Yeah.
size notebook where I use one page each for a session's prep,
Yeah.
super low prep, and just playing with my friend week in and week out has been extremely healing. And it's also been very nice to play without the expectation of like audience or performing and just being able to engage and play.
Yeah.
So I recommend it. I'm working on it. I'm working on playing more, and I recommend people to also play more. It's not too late.
It's hopefully it's important to be able to play, I think, without
For
all those
sure.
expectations, because it reminds you why you love it in the first place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's like I've not GM'd in a long time that wasn't in a performance context. So being able to GM this God Killer game for my friend who really, really wanted to, who basically had brain rot over his favorite Blorbo and was just like, he just looked at me and said, I need just an opportunity to play him and like bring him that closure. And I was just like, what if we put him in an Odyssey? What if we just keep putting this man in situations in a God Killer game? And he was like, that's brilliant. I'm like, Brent, that's what I'm doing. And that's what we're doing week in and week out. And it's also very nice because there is also that sort of space of like, hey, I'm not feeling it and I have
Yes.
like low spoons or I'm exhausted. Can we reschedule? And that's part of having something like solo effort. I really want to do a Final Fantasy X themed home game at some point.
Right.
Because yeah, that's the dream. That's the dream I want to do before the end of this year. I will achieve it. I promise I will. But that's definitely on the cards for me is playing more um and at home and with people.
Very, very cool. With all of this stuff that you are juggling, what is for you the ideal, like, what's the idealized version of Valiant Dorian's day-to-day working life?
Oh, big question, big question.
Not that anyone should idealize working, but
That's
you know what I
true.
mean.
If I could have it all, I would honestly, if I could have it all, it would be a more efficient and more optimized version of what I'm doing now. For those of y'all who do not know, I'm based in Malaysia, which means I'm in a different time zone from a lot of my US folks. The time difference between EST and MYT is 12 hours. And my day to day currently looks like I wake up in the morning, I deal with my dog, have all the morning good, like wake up stuff.
Mm.
And then from 7 a.m. till like 11 a.m. is this is when you stream and this is when you do TTRPG work time.
Yep.
And then I talk to my husband for a few hours. And in the afternoon, I work EU hours. I'm a lawyer and I work EU hours. And I work in like 3 p.m. in the afternoon till about 10 p.m. at night. And then I go to bed. And honestly, a more idealized version of what Valiant Dorian looks like is still doing both of those things because I will, just like how performance is in my blood, being a lawyer is also in my blood. And it is not something that I necessarily want to like stop doing.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy the work that I do, and an idealized form of that would be being able to do all of those things while being like compensated more not necessarily more equitably but more consistently. That's the word, more consistently, because we know what freelancing is like, and being able to be in the same country as my husband, so that our hangouts are not limited to 11 p.m. Sorry, 11 a.m. my time till 2 p.m. my time.
Yeah.
And being able to spend more time with him and being able to like weave the work that I do in the day with the wonderful, soul fulfilling work of TTRPGs in other times. So that's what idealize, not to idealize work and min maxing your schedule, but like I genuinely am very, very happy with this sort of setup.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that can make this better for me is if I were with my husband day in and day out, and if I'm able to squeeze some home games in there during the week, and be able to uh be financially comfortable
Yeah.
with everything, because we know the times that we live in, huh?
They're just so
Folks.
interesting.
Why'd you say that?
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Is there anything in particular that you would like to plug?
Oh, sure thing. Hi, folks. I'm Valiant Dorian. If you think I'm cool,
And you
first
should.
off, Yeah, that's very kind. But if you think I'm cool, please consider following me on my socials. You will find me on Twitter. I don't use it anymore. The only reason it's still there is so that no one else takes that name and does something with it. And you can find me mostly on Blue Sky and a bunch of other socials like Instagram, TikTok, etc. In terms of things to plug, Transplanar RPG, Chaos Protocol, is live on Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, over on Transplanar RPG, twitch.tv/TransplanarRPG. And another thing that I'd like to plug is that I've talked about this show multiple times in this session, but my first sort of like major production that I'm doing, called Secrets of the Actuality, in collaboration with Monty Cook Games, will be coming out later this year. And I would love to hear, like, I would love to see all of you join in on the lore crafting, theorizing game that we're about to embark on with this Invisible Sun theme show. So keep an eye out on my socials for that. I'm also in a ton of other productions that I don't think have been announced yet.
Okay.
So just keep an eye on my socials for all the shows I'll be in. And thank you again for having me on.
Thank you so much for finding time. I really do appreciate it. It's been a
No
pleasure.
worries.
Yeah, we're going to wave at the camera and say bye. So, bye.
Bye.